Bill Cowan. I was at Opie from 1972 to 1985. I taught psychology, PE, and I was athletic director for a few years. And in those years, I started off with being an assistant football coach, and I was hired to be a head baseball coach. And then I was a head football coach when Coach Von Stein left, and I was a head football coach from 1978 to 1984. And then I was head basketball coach from 1975 to 1985, and I was Jesse's assistant in girls basketball. We assisted each other. And then I was head baseball coach until they eliminated the program from 1972.
Major accomplishments, state championships, or any other major accomplishments you can think of?
I was coaching in the one and only state championship football game that was held in Opie High School. And it was Coach Von Stein was the head coach, and we played Ashland right out here on this field. The day before, we practiced in shorts, 60 degrees. The next day was the coldest day of my life, and it's still the coldest day of my life. And we had a very competitive game. We lost to Ashland. What memory I have the most of that game outside of everybody was here. It was a wonderful event. Outside we didn't win the game, but the executive director of Acacia came here, and everybody wanted to get in the Eagles' nest because it was so cold. And he tried to get in the Eagles' nest, and Mr. Inwood told him he couldn't go up there. That was one of the when an administrator stood up against Acacia, and he went down because there wasn't enough room. But that was a state championship game. And then in 1980, Opie always had a problem winning the Lyon County League tournament, men's. And in 1980, we were fortunate enough to win the Lyon County League tournament when I was the head coach. And that was a big accomplishment at the time, but now it's part of Chris's regular season schedule. If you look at his schedule, it probably says Lyon County League championship game. And they have been I don't know how many they've won. They've won a lot since 1980. And then I was assistant coach on Coach Nelson's team with 30-0. And that team is in the Kansas State High School Activity Association Hall of Fame. And then with coaching with Coach Nelson was unbelievable experience for me. Still to this day, is one of my best friends. And then with Coach Von Stein, he taught me everything there is to know about football, and I could never coach without him. And then at one time, when I first came here, is to be the head baseball coach. And probably not a lot of people know this, but at one time we had 3 ex-professional baseball players coaching baseball at Opie High School. Myself, who I'd signed with the Kansas City Royals after school, Mike Plunkett, who had signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers after Boise State, and John McCrae, who had signed with the Houston Astros after the game. So we had 3 of us coaching baseball, and not saying we were excellent coaches, but we played, but we had pretty good resumes. So Coach Nelson, people don't know what it's like to coach with Coach Nelson. The bench is some of the most humorous times I've ever had in my life because he has such a great way of communicating with his players and keeping things loose on the bench, and they're all clean. But it's really interesting, his comments. It cracked me up on the bench. That's one of the lasting memories I have of Coach because he is so funny and so down to earth. Coach Von Stein was a technician, knew the game inside and out, and he taught me everything I knew about football. So I became the head coach in football after he left. And after the state championship game here, at that point in time, we had playoff games here for a while, but then we decided to move to Emporia State. And that turned out to be a good move because it was a facility set up. It's much easier to run, and the crowds were much. When we had a state championship game here, you can imagine what the crowds were. They were parking flatbeds, putting bales of hay because the weather report was going to come, and stacking hay bales around the flatbeds to try to break the wind. And we had with Mr. Inwood. Mr. Inwood, who hired me, was the best administrator that I ever worked for in my life. He was Opie Eagles, and him and Madge are 2 terrific people, and I still have the most respect for him of any administrator I ever worked for, because he only knew one way, and that's the right way, and you did it his way. So those are some memories I have of Opie. And there are many more, but those are some of the lasting memories I have. And then obviously I was able to coach some great individuals who turned in to be great family people and turned in to be great coaches. Coach Schmidt is done an outstanding job here, which is almost unbelievable. Now, I want to ask you something, or I want to make a comment here that some people might not know. In the last 50 years, how many head coaches have we had in football at Opie High School?
4.
4. In basketball coaches, men's basketball, possibly 4. And then Coach Nelson was here for 40 some years. Volleyball coaches, possibly 6. Track coaches, possibly a handful. When you talk about Opie community, Opie High School, that says something. Most schools go through coaches sometimes every 2 years. To have 4 coaches in football with the tradition they have in football at this school is incredible. I would put that record up against anybody across the state of Kansas or anybody in the nation. That's incredible to me. I've always thought of that. People ask why I know they probably asked Coach Schmidt with all his state championships. He's had a chance probably to move on to other places, but he's still here. That says a lot about the community and the school.
No, it's not the norm
Sure.
that people stay.
And they're the envy of the league, I know, because everybody gets fired up to play Opie because of the reputation. But it's not only on the court, it's in the academics. It's the whole reputation of the town, the community of Opie. They're very supportive. And it's incredible when you look at the coaching records. And it's not because they accept anything other than winning, but to have 4 coaches in football in 50 years is unheard of. I don't know of anybody. I'd put that record up against anywhere.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
And prior to, when I was going to school in Reading, where I graduated, went to high school and school, they were tremendous. There were state championships in football. They had the alumnus can tell you, they had the undefeated, unscored upon season in football. You do know that?
Yeah. Wow.
So that comes with adding more fuel to the fire about the coaching situation. And, there's a lot of time with a lot of the teachers and think they've been a long time in one place, which again tells you about the community. And
Definitely.
You can't buy that. You have to earn it.
Exactly. Exactly. What about the work ethic of the athletes and relationships that you formed with the athletes?
Love it. Never had to worry about Opie kids being in shape because you know why? They hauled hay and they worked. Their parents at home made them work. It wasn't and I don't know that I could coach today because of the thumbs. Everybody has a strong thumb. And when it comes time for confrontation or competitive competition, I don't know if you can relate to your thumbs and be successful. But the work ethic, the whole community, it's obvious to everyone that this is a hardworking community in all aspects. What you're trying to do here, which I would just buy the board, is phenomenal. Nowhere else could you probably try to raise that kind of money to build a facility like that in a small town. Now, in a big town, you could have a corporation that might give a bunch of money, but that's a phenomenal undertaking, number one. But if you look at a football stadium, the way it has to be constructed to be a multi-purpose facility, and all the games that they've had, and what you have to do to host a football game is compared to what you have to do to host a football game in a lot of places. For Madison, they have a stadium. I won't say that's something that Opie strives for, that kind of stadium, because that wouldn't go over very well. But it's phenomenal that the undertaking that Opie is having to do this. Very admirable.
So I think you answered in your opinion, what makes Opie a special place in raising a family. Do you want to say anything more about the community support?
just what I just said about to take on this undertaking, and that is a community support, I would I would think. I'm not I don't know the fundraising behind it, but to raise that to build that kind of complex. And from what I understand, you're going to have a football field, basketball, baseball, softball, tennis. I don't know what all is going to be there.
They'll be near the football field, which is one of the things I'm really excited about, is they're putting a weight room because our weight room really needs improved, a weight room in that facility. Then there's eventually going to be like a walking track and fitness things. And I'm pretty sure the weight room is going to be accessible to the community too. So yeah, it's a huge deal. And that committee has really taken the reins on it and done an incredible job.
They'll be the envy of the area, for sure.
For sure.
And when you talk about weight training, I was back in the day when Coach Baumstein, he had a very good weight training program. But when you have most of the kids back in the day during hay season, when do you lift?
Yeah, they were lifting anyway.
You got to haul hay all day.
Yeah.
And to get a time where they come in at 6 a.m. before they had to go up to work to do their work at home, or in the evening, we used to have the weight in the grade school, in the basement of the grade school, which was kind of interesting. But to the facilities they have for weight training, after I retired from coaching and teaching, I was able to sell sporting goods for 20 years, which was wonderful because I was able to travel and see facilities and see coaches and some people I'd coached against or been an athletic director with. And that was a tremendous thing to do after I retired from coaching and teaching. And some of the facilities across the state of Kansas are mind-boggling. Some of the weight room facilities are mind-boggling. There is, you have removed an excuse because the opportunity is there.
That's so true. And when I first started here, that room that's over here, it's a little classroom. That was the weight room. In a tiny classroom, you'd have 20 kids. And I would say, well, I'm going to get innovative, I guess, because we can't all be in there. But
I had a weight room when I was at Belle Plaine. It was a little, I don't know, cubicle. And we used the school stage. And we did power cleans on the school stage. And then they got after me because we were ruining the floor. So that's what I'm saying about the facilities a lot of these schools have today is incredible. And one of the things that weight training does tie in with athletics now much more than ever. And the size of the athletes today and the speed and they're bigger, stronger, and faster than they've ever been.
So I think you covered the special moments that stand out to you. So the last one is basically, what do you believe it means to be an Opie Eagle, and does it stick with you regardless of where you are now?
Absolutely. Sure, it sticks with you. Mr. Inwood, the colors that we have in football, the uniforms we have in football are a direct replica of the Green Bay Packers. I don't know if you've ever noticed that. The colors that we have for the school, in all sports, it means something. Because when I went from here, the colors of my next school were not like these colors. They were brown and gold, but it was still gold. Opie has a lasting memory because it was my first job. And I loved every minute of being here because the teachers and administration and the success that we had on and off the field. And like I say, I don't want to try to weigh one job versus the other because they were both very good experiences for me and my family. My family, all my children were born in Emporia, so we have roots here in the neighborhood. And my wife is from Emporia, and I'm from Reading, so I'm not very far off as far as back to my roots. But I do think it was very good for us to spread our roots, go to different situations. But that's just me.
Is there anything else that you want to add to your interview that you haven't touched on?
Thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. Another thing that people might not realize, Emporia State, at the time when I was here, was KSTC. In Emporia State, and I don't know if you realize this, but a lot of former coaches or players from Opie are in the Hall of Honor at Porty State. That says something also, I think. And I was lucky enough to be inducted last fall. But that Carolyn Richards, Jesse Nelson, Mike Plunkett, myself. So that kind of put a cap on my season or my career. So I really appreciate the opportunity. I've always proud to say I coached and was affiliated with Opie for all my life. And I don't know that I could sing the fight song, though. Do you still have one?
It's written.
Oh,
over
okay.
there.
Maybe I'll go over and read it.